Unrivaled. Bringing in Angel Reese at this stage of Unrivaled is definitely a TNT saying we're fucked. How much money is it going to cost to get her in to get viewership? Because just like bringing in Sabrina Ionescu on a rumored $1 million contract for the 2025 Unrivaled season was desperation. Like, it was
130,000 viewers. That's what Angel Reese's debut game in Unrivaled pulled. And the look on everyone's face when those numbers dropped was pure shock. Not because it was terrible, but because it was aggressively average, right in the middle of what Unrivaled had been getting all season. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If bringing in one of the biggest names in women's basketball doesn't move the needle, what exactly does Unrivaled have?
So, if you guys didn't see, 130K. 130K High versus Rose. The first Angel Reese game. 130K, which is not ideal. Like, absolutely not ideal for Unrivaled at all. Like, it's not the end of the world because it's not like viewership went down. It's not like viewership went down at all, because it didn't. It actually has been better than some of their games. But that being said, it was right bang smack in the middle.
Here's the context that makes this number so damaging. Unrivaled reportedly paid Sabrina Ionescu $1 million to join the 2025 season. $1 million. That wasn't a normal contract. That was desperation money. Money they had sitting there for Caitlin Clark, who never took it. So they pivoted to Sabrina, hoping her name would save their viewership problem. It didn't work, and now they've brought in Angel Reese mid-season, clearly hoping she'd provide that spark. The ratings say she hasn't.
And that is a bit of a concern, considering in the playoff hunt. And that's one of the scary things, is that, like, outside of 1v1 competition, which, by the way, didn't have near the relevancy of last year's 1v1 competition. Like, last year's 1v1 competition was huge. And, like, I mean this. The biggest play of Unrivaled, virality-wise, was Jordan's signature shimmy. Like, you literally have podcasts making fun of Jordan's signature shimmy. And I mean, like, NBA podcasts just laughing at them. Like, that's kind of now what we're at where we're at.
But let's put this in perspective. Some Unrivaled games have pulled similar numbers without any marquee additions. The league's been hovering in this range for weeks, so Angel's debut didn't tank the viewership. It just didn't elevate it either. And that's the problem. When you bring in a player mid-season, you're making a statement. You're saying this person is worth disrupting your roster for, worth whatever salary you're paying, worth the media attention. The return on that investment needs to be measurable. 130,000 viewers in a playoff hunt game isn't measurable growth. It's treading water.
I was like, oh yeah, look, they cut it off early. It's like, of course she missed. Of course she missed. They cut it off early. And I'm like, yeah, it's just a mad one to watch here, because at the end of the day, this is something where Unrivaled needs that boost. Unrivaled absolutely needs that boost from viewership. Unrivaled needs that needed that boost that Angel Reese was going to bring in, and she just hasn't. And that's unfortunate. I thought she would. I genuinely thought that she would. And I do think one of the biggest problems with Unrivaled is that their fan base, like, they are trying to...
Now here's where it gets interesting. Last year's Unrivaled one-on-one competition was massive. It generated viral moments, social media buzz, legitimate sports conversation. This year, the biggest viral moment from Unrivaled has been Chelsea Gray doing a Jordan Shamgod move on Tasha Hyde, who just stood there watching. And then Gray missed the shot. That clip didn't go viral because it was impressive. It went viral because NBA podcasts were laughing at it. That's the content breaking through. Not competitive basketball. Not elite play. Blooper reels.
It's not a sports league. And that is one of the biggest flaws with Unrivaled, by the way. They're trying to make it... They're trying to like, you can't... I mean this when I say this, like, sport isn't... Like, if you're not on the side of sport is almost like a form of fucking battle against another person, then nobody's going to give a flying fuck. If the players don't care, wins or losses, like, because they don't. They don't. Sabrina Ionescu literally said she didn't care last year. She literally came out and said, if I got locked in for Unrivaled, it would be tough to stay locked in for the WNBA season. Like, she literally came out and said she didn't care. Like, I'm trying to think of players that have shown fight.
There's a fundamental problem with how Unrivaled is trying to build its audience. They're attempting to create a fan base where nobody's actually a fan of any specific team. Everyone's supposed to be fans of Unrivaled as a concept, fans of the league itself. That's not how sports work. Sports require tribalism. You need people emotionally invested in outcomes. You need fans who care when their team loses. And right now, these players don't even seem to care when they lose. Sabrina Ionescu literally said last year that if she got too locked in for Unrivaled, it would be tough to stay locked in for the WNBA season. She admitted she didn't care. When your stars are openly saying the games don't matter to them, why would fans treat them differently?
In Unrivaled, Chelsea Gray just gets buckets. Angel Reese, in fairness to her, showed fight. Like that, those defensive possessions. But like, for all, like, whatever you want to say about Angel Reese, she is an elite competitor. She is one of those, she is like on a Caitlin Clark mentality, psycho competitor level. Like, they're wired the same. There's the reason why. I think if at any stage, any sort of a GM is willing to put the two of them on the same team, like, they would never lose. Like, I'm not joking. Like, if you manage to find a way, if you manage to find a way to put Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Angel Reese on the same team, like, it's over.
Angel Reese is one of the exceptions. Whatever you think about her game, she's an elite competitor. She plays hard. She cares about winning. You can see it in how she approaches defense, how she fights for rebounds, how she reacts to losses. She's wired like Caitlin Clark in that respect. Both of them are psycho competitors who hate losing more than they like winning. And that mentality matters. If you put those two on the same team, add Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, you'd have a championship core that wouldn't lose. The competitiveness would be suffocating for opponents. But even with Angel bringing that intensity to Unrivaled, it didn't translate to viewership. And that tells you something important about what drives people to watch live basketball versus what drives social media engagement.
And she plays hard. Still nobody gives a fuck to watch. Like, that's not a good sign. Like, that's just not a good sign for the league. And I think the league's in a much rougher spot, I think, than people realize. And I would be very concerned if I was a Unrivaled investor. I would be extremely concerned, because I don't know in general what type of long-term deals they are, but like, I wouldn't be concerned, like, because the TV deal is so much of it. Like, I understand.
Here's the distinction that matters. There are players who get people to watch highlights, players who get people talking on social media, and players who get people to watch live games. Those are three different skills, and they don't always overlap. Angel Reese is exceptional at generating social media conversation. Her presence on Twitter and Instagram drives engagement, but that engagement doesn't convert to live viewership at the rate Unrivaled needed it to. The one matchup that consistently draws viewers for Angel is when she plays against Caitlin Clark. Angel versus Caitlin pulls numbers. Angel versus Aja Wilson can pull numbers, but Angel in a random Unrivaled game against players casual fans don't know, that's not appointment television.
It's a really, really tough one to consistently do that, especially when you're making next to $0 in gate revenue. Like, it becomes really, really tricky. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm surprised. I'm genuinely surprised that Angel Reese is not, I'm not gonna say not the needle mover, because I think we all kind of know that Angel Reese hasn't been a long-term, like a viewership needle mover, because let's be real, like, there's one TV viewership needle mover, and in fairness, I will say Angel Reese, when she's playing Aja Wilson, can absolutely get viewership. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Like, Angel Reese, when she plays Aja, can get viewership, but that's really it. Aja can get viewership when she's playing the Liberty.
And this is where we need to talk about what Unrivaled is actually selling. They're trying to position this as a premium product. 3-on-3 basketball with the best players in the world, played in a compressed season with high stakes. But the business model is shaky. They can probably sell out a venue like Brooklyn once a year on novelty. People will show up to see something new, but can they do that consistently? Can they build a sustainable gate revenue stream when the games don't feel important? That's the question investors should be asking right now. The TV deal is everything for Unrivaled. Without significant broadcast revenue, the math doesn't work. You're paying players six-figure salaries, renting venues, covering production costs, marketing the league. Gate revenue from a few thousand fans per game doesn't cover that. You need media rights deals, you need advertisers, you need viewership that justifies premium ad rates, and 130,000 viewers for your biggest mid-season acquisition doesn't inspire confidence in potential broadcast partners.
Sometimes, and that's kind of the only games people care about is Angel versus Aja, Angel versus Paige, and like these other rivals need to play against each other for anyone to watch, whereas Caitlyn is the view driver. But that being said, I'm shocked at how poor it was. Like, I thought at least it would be closer to the 200,000 for her first game, but like we all do know that when it comes down to it, Angel Reese fans don't come out in droves to watch. Like, and that's just.
Think about the position Unrivaled is in right now. They brought in Sabrina Ionescu for a reported $1 million. She openly admitted she wasn't fully invested. They brought in Angel Reese mid-season, clearly hoping for a viewership boost. The numbers stayed flat. They're in the playoff hunt portion of their season, which should be driving increased interest. It's not happening. So what's the next move? Do they throw more money at bigger names? Do they try to restructure the entire format? Do they hope that year 2 or year 3 builds momentum organically? The problem is that Unrivaled is competing for attention in an already crowded sports landscape. They're asking fans to care about a new league with new teams and no history, played in a format most people aren't familiar with, during a time of year when there's already plenty of basketball to watch. That's a tough sell even with the biggest stars.
The truth, like most of Angel Reese's fans are just sitting on Twitter. They're sitting on Twitter making up fake allegations against fans of other teams. Like that's kind of what a lot of them do. But yeah, it is not ideal. And yeah, I would be very concerned if I was an Unrivaled investor, because it's a tough position to be in where you think the biggest star in your league is going to be drawing in big viewership.
Here's what makes this particularly concerning for investors. Unrivaled isn't just struggling to grow viewership, they're struggling to maintain it. When your baseline is already modest and a major acquisition doesn't move the needle, you're not in a growth phase, you're in a survival phase. And survival phases require different strategies than growth phases. They need to figure out what actually drives viewership. Is it star power? Clearly not, based on the Angel Reese numbers. Is it competition? Hard to say when players are openly admitting they're not fully locked in. Is it the format? 3-on-3 basketball is exciting in theory, but it hasn't translated to must-watch television. Is it marketing? Maybe they're not reaching the right audiences. Is it timing? Maybe launching a new league in an already saturated market was always going to be an uphill battle. The answer is probably some combination of all of those factors. But the clock is ticking. Investors want returns. Broadcast partners want guarantees. Players want stability. And right now, Unrivaled is providing none of those things at a level that inspires long-term confidence. 130,000 viewers for Angel Reese's debut isn't a disaster, but it's not a solution either. It's a data point that confirms what many people suspected. Name recognition alone doesn't drive live viewership in women's basketball. There's one player who consistently moves the needle for live games, and she's not playing in Unrivaled. Everyone else, including Angel Reese, generates different types of engagement: social media buzz, highlight views, cultural conversation, but not necessarily live viewership. And if Unrivaled can't figure out how to convert social media popularity into actual viewers, they're going to have a very difficult time justifying their business model to the people writing the checks. Because at the end of the day, this is a business, and businesses need revenue. And revenue in sports comes from viewership, and the viewership just isn't there. So where does Unrivaled go from here? That's the question everyone should be asking, because the Angel Reese experiment was supposed to provide an answer. Instead, it just raised more questions. And those questions don't have easy solutions. What do you think Unrivaled needs to do to actually grow their audience? Because whatever they're doing right now clearly isn't working. Let me know in the comments.